The young man is being interviewed for a position as an engineer at the moon station. Unfortunately, the engineers at the moon station are enough, and Guy agrees to be a cleaner. He becomes a member of the Lunar Shield project, which was built to protect the planet from the asteroid P, which has been orbiting Mars for 1,000 years, and then suddenly decides to move towards Earth. The Chinese government has offered to go to the moon and create a super weapon, a space hammer that will destroy P. The remains of the asteroid will collect Moon, thus protecting the Earth. Everything was done and the disaster seemed over. The guy will be returning to Earth soon, but first he wants to solve personal problems. The thing is, he's lonely and hopelessly in love, and now he's willing to admit his feelings. He runs to the entrance hatch, but is distracted by station staff. His idea fails. Then he decides to write a letter of declaration of love and rush to his cabin. At this time, the commanders report that debris P is about to hit the station. Immediate evacuation is announced, all but Duguay are rushing to the spacecrafts. He is obsessed with dreams, and does not hear or see warnings, until he eventually notices the launching ships. The men rush to the ships and see them take off without him. None of the staff notices his absence. At the next moment, dozens of stones fall to the surface. The man tries to dodge them, hides in a crater, but still unsuccessfully. When he wakes up, his air supply is near zero. He sees a huge meteor fall to Earth, and then the blast wave covers the planet's surface. Duguay realizes he's the last man alive. He gets to the base and finds it in relative order. There is air and plenty of food, but no connection to Earth. A man is performing a memorial service for his fellow officers and his beloved scene. His last dream is to get to her room, but doors are closed. In the next few weeks, Duguay is busy picking up the code, until he figures out just blowing up the door. He finally gets inside where he constructs a female figure with a picture scene instead of a head, and arranges dinner with an imaginary girl. He doesn't suspect that he's being watched by survivors all the time, and Sin also want them. There is no connection to the moon, so they just watch him. Sin reports to his superiors that the man is on the moon because of her. They decide to stop a live feed from the moon, so that the world knows how Duguay lives. The impact of the meteorite split the tectonic plates that caused the tsunami destroyed 30% of the land's surface. Cities covered with volcanic ash. The condition of survival is horrific. Habitat now underground. Diseases begin. If they make Duguay a hero to emulate, he can give everyone hope. Sin tells the world about a man on the moon, who has given his place in a rocket to a friend. He was struck by asteroid fragments, and she was sure of his death. But he survived, and soon they will begin live broadcasting about the life with Duguay. People all over the world are watching the screens, although many don't believe in what is happening. Sin commands the live feed. Duguay opens the door to the warehouse and sees the silhouette lying down. He starts talking to the silhouette. He's glad he's not alone on the moon. It turns out Duguay was talking to a kangaroo. The research department admits to having left a kangaroo on the moon, named King Kangaroo, who had a nasty temper and a glutton. The kangaroo occupied the warehouse and prevents Duguay from reaching the pills he needs. The man has to invent ways to disarm the animal. The world is watching Duguay try to get in the warehouse. The kangaroo sleeps on the doorstep. The guy steps over it and gets to the locker, but as he heads for the exit, an animal appears behind his back. The man invents a new way and goes to the warehouse as a kangaroo girlfriend. The man is on his way to the pills, but the kangaroo decides to move on to the next stage of the relationship, and Duguay has to save his honor. The cure breaks down. The guy complains to Sin about the humiliation he feels, but he doesn't give up. He printed a machine gun on a 3D printer and fought Kangaroo, and at the beginning even won, but not for long. The man falls from the next blow. Alarmed Sin tries to contact him. The guy sees the out-track and realizes that he is not alone. The guy cries because he realizes that there is someone alive in the world who remembers him. He also doesn't notice that these sounds create kangaroo tail. On Earth they don't know if he's really hearing them. He offers no more fighting, which the animal accepts. From this day on, he begins to think of a plan of salvation. Since 1969, there has been an Apollo program on the moon, and one of the last ships is still on the surface. He just needs to get to it, take the engine from there, fly to the station in lunar orbit, and an escape pod descend to Earth. On Earth they are amazed at the skill of a simple janitor, but when they learn that Duguay is an engineer, they are even more surprised. In the meantime, Duguay discovers that the Apollo 18 rocket engine is beyond repair. He recalls an ancient Chinese inventor who wanted to take off on fireworks. They have them, although they are far from the base. However, the moon travel vehicle is driven by solar panels. Duguay simply cannot get to the location. The world has held without understanding his plan, and only Sin finally understands. He will go the other way, and thus will drive for the sun, and if he rests 4 hours a day and drives the rest of the time, he gets to the right place, and has time to get back to base. The survivors watched with delight Jordan, Dugaya and his companion. They finally reached their destination. Dugaya closed the harmful kangaroo and started driving back without noticing that the car with the animal is being detached. The Earth knows he can come back or he won't be able to keep up with the Sun. Suddenly he comes back, except by all accounts. There is no way they're gonna make it to the base. The man has been driving non-stop for 53 hours. He's switching to battery power, but they're not gonna last long. Eventually they stop 55 kilometers from the base. Dugaya say goodbye to the kangaroo, but suddenly notices it trying to catch a reflection of the light from the flashlight. Dugaya makes a sleigh, ties them to a kangaroo, shines the flashlight in front of it, and thus begins to move. Life on Earth is beginning to get better, and people have come to believe in the possibility of survival. One day Dugaya notices what's really triggering the communication device, and becomes desperate. Sin speaks to all the people on Earth, and confesses that Dugaya was simply forgotten on the moon, but he did his best to survive, and help them find hope. Now is their time to save the man. Dugaya goes to the surface of the moon and presses the depressurization button, and people go to the surface of the Earth and begin to shine to the sky from everything under their hands. Dugaya sees these lights and cries with happiness. He is not alone. Soon the means of communication was restored. Dugaya begins to assemble a ship for return, and now see his beloved every day. The day comes when the moon pair sets sail for Earth. Dugaya spacecraft docks at the space station. At this point she learns that the largest fragment of the meteorite is still in orbit, and is heading for Earth. The only space hammer is on Dugaya's ship. The last chance for humanity is him. People descending into the ground. Humanity once again on the verge of annihilation. Dugaya sees the kangaroo in an escape pod and says goodbye to it, and flies between the wreckage of a meteor, looking for the biggest one. Due to collision with one of the wrecks, the navigation system is completely disabled. He appears to Sin to take control of the ship. The guy says goodbye to humanity. The rocket separates from the ship and flies to the asteroid. He sees Sin's favorite son and she cries. At the same time, the life pod of the kangaroo descends to Earth. Sin presses the button. People go to the surface and pay tribute to the hero. After more than a decade, people have worked hard to restore the climate and are ready to go back to the moon. In the comments, tell me if you like this story, how much would you rate it on a 10-point scale, and don't forget to subscribe and click the bell.